Alright, so here is Aston Martin GT3. Let's do this. 15-year-olds from Brazil. 10 months experience in iRacing. Started to drive 15 to 20 hours a week to try to improve significantly, and 2.5k rating. Alright, let's go. Let's go for it.
Bro thinks he's Max Verstappen or something.
All right. Good lap. I think this one is going to be pretty technical. Any comments, guys?
He's probably using one of those cheats that automatically drives for you and puts you on the limit all the time.
Smooth operator. Who said that? I think it was Michael Andretti. Mario Andretti. Some Andretti said, if things look under control, you're going slow. I think. Wait, Pedro said he cannot hear us. Can you guys hear me?
It might be him. He might need to like check his output settings and stuff.
Yeah. Too deliberate with the steering. Too smooth. Everything looks a little bit too good, right? There's something wrong. There's something wrong. If you're starting to turn the steering and the car turns immediately as you ask for it, it means the car was not on the limit previously. And for every fraction of a second you ask something and the car immediately gives it to you, especially in terms of rotation, is probably a red flag. I saw no correction. No micro correction, nothing in the entire lap. My first is it here, right? Like my first thought is, what setup is this? At some point I was looking up and like, if this is a fixed setup, that's a problem. But I want more rotation. I want more spice. And we don't see any drama here.
Guys driving is as bland as my cooking.
We got some understeer. I think everywhere we got a little bit of understeer on the middle of the corner. Let me see the next entries here. I don't like one thing here. I don't like... Remember the baseline, right? We brake on a straight line. And then we trail. As soon as we start trailing, we have to add steering. And we add steering in this case after the initial brakes because we are braking hard. So here we are using 100% of the grip. But what happens if you brake a tiny bit and only then you add steering? So this is what we see, right? We see this. He's on throttle. He lifts the throttle. I mean, Pedro, you're here. So you lift the throttle. You brake on a straight line. And then you start turning. So you're braking here. And you're turning here. So for this fraction of a second here, you are braking 10% and turning 0% and accelerating 0%. At this fraction of a second, you are only using 10% of the available grip, and that's slow. If you are going to brake very soft into a corner, combine the beginning of the brakes with the steering already. Because then this combination makes sense. 10% brakes is, what are the functions of the braking? Remember from the course, lesson braking functions. We have two functions, right? We can either stop the car or we can turn the car. If you're using the function to turn the car without steering, you're not doing anything. We need a little bit more spice. So you see, brake on a straight line, you're barely turning, and then you decide to turn. I know this is a fraction of a second. It might not be that much, but it's just it shows the mentality of being a little bit too safe. Like we need to combine a little bit more those two things to make sure that you're using the grip at all times, including at the initial turn in. And then and we got immediately into understeer. We're getting understeer in the middle of the corner here. We're getting a lot of understeer in the middle of the corner here. And then next corner. This one we didn't. This one was good rotation here. This was good. So you see he's braking enough and then he's turning and releasing kinda at the same time, and you can see how the car really likes it and really points. And this is the sensation that I think is missing on turns 1 and 2 and 3. This one was also good because the change of direction was pretty fast. And immediately we combined that 5% brakes with the steering. This is correct. This is good. But where is it? It's here, right? This is terrible. This is bad. Straight steering. Straight steering with 10%. So you've done it right already in other corners. Just make sure like you never waste time by braking on a straight line 10% before you start turning. Already turn if you're going straight into trail braking. This one, I think, again, it's kind of like too much like this as you steer, and it causes understeer. This causes understeer because here you're slowing the car down a lot, and then you throw a lot of weight to the rear. So you're making it a little bit too safe, and this is costing you lap time. I think what you could have done is a little bit something like this, where you slow the car a little bit less, and this rotates the car more. So here you get more rotation with the same amount of steering, with the same lines, everything. But the car just turns a little bit more. And instead of accelerating here, you can accelerate here, right? And that's 0.05 that you gain. Wow, that was terrible writing. Anyways, you got the idea. And this just feels understeery. Maybe it's a setup. I don't know if it's a fixed setup. That's a big problem. But if it's not fixed, I would add more spice in the setup. I would really like to have the car turn more without having to struggle that much. Yeah, that's a lot of understeer. It's a lot of understeer. What is this? Oh, the car is bottoming out. Oh shit! The car is bottoming out so much that is that it? Am I seeing something crazy here, guys? I feel like the car is bottoming out and the rotation is going all over the place. Yeah, it's bottoming out. You can hear it. Oh my god, the whole thing is bottoming out. You can hear the sound of the car bottoming out like 4 times here. Same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing. Look at this, look at this. You're braking, not turning. You're releasing the brakes. And then you only start turning more when the brakes are already very low. I think what's going on is that you're releasing the brakes and turning a little bit too late. Almost something like this. I'm exaggerating, but we need to push this trace a little bit earlier so that there's a higher amount of combination between brakes and steering, and you get more rotation. Because otherwise, right now, I feel you're doomed to understeer. Like, you didn't even get that bad understeer here. I think the engine braking kind of helped you. But it just feels a little bit too... Yeah, I think you could have probably carried a little bit more speed. Instead of doing this, because of this quick drop here, maybe you can brake a little bit later and then do something a little bit like this. So that you kind of like spread the rotation generation and the car gets a little bit more spicy and turns a little bit more without you having to turn the steering so much. That's all good. Yeah, there's some time here. It just feels like too smooth, right, guys? Like it feels like the car responds to your inputs. You see, you're adding more steering and the car is turning more and more and more a little bit too immediately. I don't see any sort of like little correction or the car wanting to go wide and then getting back, because this corner is more like this, right? It's a closing radius, so it closes a little bit more towards the end, something like this. So what I like to do here is to carry a lot of speed and then kind of like go a little bit wide and then back in and get back on power here and then do the SS flat. But in your case, it's almost like you're stuck here and you're bouncing. So you're not actually literally bouncing, but you're holding a steering trace that keeps you on the inside. It's too easy. It's too easy. Your lap is too easy. And I think that's a kind of like a good thing. I think driving wise, you seem to have found a very consistent way, but you need to find a way to carry more speed and carry more rotation. So when I say, let's try to have a more dramatic lap, I'm not telling you to brake later only. In some cases, it might be the case. But mostly, I think I miss rotation and corrections. I miss combining the brakes with the steering a little bit more to get the car to bite a little bit more. And as soon as you get into that problem, then you will really need the knowledge of MRP, the knowledge of closing spiral and opening spiral, the knowledge of like compound corners and how to, plan your line and so on. And the brake trace is going to be more connected to the steering. And then for the last corner, I like the last corner. I feel like the last corner is one of the few corners where you seem to be correcting a little bit. Like there are some micro corrections here, so I kind of like it. Just the exit was too easy. I think you got back on throttle and now I can't hear. Oh, here we cannot hear the sound of the tires because your engine sound is very high, so we cannot use that as a reference. But I just see like no drama here. It's a little bit too easy. Like, oh, this time you're steering just this, and the car is going this way. The car doesn't even want to push this way. Like you are the one unwinding the steering and letting the car go here, and you're still leaving this amount of space, of track space here. So I think you could have gotten back on power a little bit earlier. The entry was good though. I like what it did with the entry here. There's a bigger connection with the brakes and the steering. Just the throttle was a little bit too late, I think, or not aggressive enough. Yeah, you spent a little bit too much time on this instead of doing something like just get to 100 a little bit earlier and use that extra exit speed. Questions? So basically, for him to add steering earlier, have more struggle with the entry, and with a lap or two, he would instinctively find the new braking point. Not a lap or two, more like some dozens of laps, maybe 100 laps. It's not an easy thing. Brian, your question is very good. So your question is it better to start turning and then release the brakes a fraction later, or to time the release and the turn at exactly the same time? Depending on the car, do both. For cars with ABS, at first, the best thing to do is to try to start turning at a fraction of a second earlier to feel how releasing off the ABS makes the car turn. If that still overheats the tire a little bit too much, then you try to close the gap. Instead of turning and then releasing the brakes, you make it closer. You turn and kind of like almost at the same time release the brakes. And if it's still too much, then you try to turn releasing the brakes at the same time. But make that adjustment. One thing I don't want you to do is to release the brakes and then turn. That is unproductive in most cars. There will be very rare occasions where you have to release the brakes before you start turning. One big exception is obviously the brake release on a straight line on a Formula 1, but that's not related to that. It's just related to the actual threshold grip that you lose because you're losing downforce. So it doesn't really relate to what we're talking about today. In theory, though, timing it at the same time should be the fastest. Kinda, yeah, but not. I don't know. In theory, yes, but like the timing of things when there's so many moving parts and suspensions and you know, like it's very difficult to define what timing that is. Like when you turn the steering, there's some time for the suspension to compress. Like the tire only actually starts turning the car after you have some slip angle, so it's never gonna be like super precise. It's difficult to define what timing means here. So basically, you need to trail brake for longer on most corners. Yes, I think you need. I want more rotation, man. I don't know how you're gonna do it. Just give me more rotation. That's what I want. I need some spice. Like your driving is too safe. Less initial peak pressure, maybe. If it's too easy in your understeer in the middle of the corner, you can probably carry a little bit more brakes on corner entry. I think that's for sure gonna help. It's difficult. I know it's not easy, man. Like if I were actually on a coaching session with you, I would give you a bunch of options. But like just telling you, hey, get more rotation should at least make you think a little bit.